Support for First Coast Connect is provided in part by Baptist Health and North Florida TPO.
Good morning. I'm Ann Schindler, and this is First Coast Connect. Today, when foster care comes to an end, we talk to local providers and youth counselors about bridging the gap and preparing for the working world. Later in the program, from vacillating vaccine recommendations to Halloween hazards, we discuss the latest medical headlines with our own Dr. Joe Servin. But first, finding and keeping a job is one of the primary challenges facing foster care graduates aging out of the state system. Here to tell us about a program designed to make that transition easier, we're joined by Oliver Green, Youth Wellbeing Supervisor for Family Support Services. Good morning, Oliver. Welcome back.
Good morning. Thank you.
We're also joined by Nadia Hover, a Youth Wellbeing Program Coordinator. Nadia, good morning.
Good morning, Ann.
Jamaal Brown, the group's Education and Employment Specialist. Good morning, Jamaal.
Good morning.
Good morning. Jamaal does not need any more coffee this morning. We're glad to have him. And Alexis Estien, a member of the Youth Advisory Council. Alexis, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So, Alexis, how did you personally get involved in the Youth Council? You're at UNF right now, I think?
Yes.
Yeah. And so what is the work that you do with the Youth Council?
I pretty much help my peers to communicate with the supervisors of the program so they can gain perspective and find more effective ways to help us.
What kinds of messages do you kind of help them convey? What are some of the priorities that your peers are dealing with?
Generally, my peers are pretty shy when it comes to communicating to authority figures, and I'm not a very shy person. So I tend to listen to their ideas because they're more comfortable since I'm in their age group. A few of them are older than me, and I will take their ideas and communicate it to the adults.
Do you find that they have needs sometimes that adults just aren't seeing?
I do think that, mostly because as youth, we tend not to trust easily, and so we don't show what we need as easily.
Yeah. Oliver, talk about that in terms of building trust. Very often these are kids who've been through a lot. They've seen a lot in some cases, and they're also in a precarious situation. A lot of them at an age where they're going to be perhaps aging out of the system and really tackling a lot of things on their own by themselves.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that we do is, first off, we talk to them. We talk to them and not at them. For so long, they've had people telling them what to do and not giving them the examples or giving them the opportunity to execute what it is that we're asking of them. So talking to them, giving them the example, and then walking them through it. I find that has been one of the important things that we've done as a department, individually and collectively, just to make sure that their transition is smoother when it comes to giving them those life skills that we as adults don't think that they should have, but they don't really have a grasp of them.
Yeah, it can be hard too to just even remember kind of all of the individual challenges that you faced when you're sort of starting out on your own.
Mhm.
You forget how much there is to learn. What are the primary challenges that the kids in your program face?
Uh, Really basic life skills. Who is your doctor? Who is your dentist? When's the last time you went to the dentist? When's the last time you went to the doctor? Just those things, just in general, are things that the case manager and or the foster parent has handled and just taken them to. The kids, they laugh at me when I say, "Do you know how to balance a checkbook?" And they're like, "Mr. Oliver, what is a checkbook?"
What is a checkbook?
But it's a thing that we may, as adults, may be able to do in our head, or we still may use a checkbook to balance. But one of the things they do very, very well collectively is overdraft their account because they don't know how to balance. I get money, I spend it. There's no, the sense of saving or the sense of, do I really need that?
Yeah.
Is something that we have to show them continuously so they're able to take that skill when they do actually age out and the foster care system is no longer available for them.
Nadia, those are the kinds of mistakes that all kids make. Overdrafts, not getting to the doctor when they need to, maybe, getting behind on a rent payment. I mean, there's all kinds of things that kids experience, but sometimes they've got, a bigger safety net. and that isn't always the case when you've got kids who are in the state system. They may not have that luxury to make those
Mhm.
errors in the same way that somebody else might. So, how do you prepare them for just kind of the reality of the challenge? I mean, it is not a small thing if you don't accomplish the things that you need to do if there isn't that safety net.
So the ways that we prepare them is just really educating them. So we have seminars and trainings and classes for them. Just for example, we had a branch from the bank come and have a financial literacy course with them so that they can be educated on balancing checkbooks and what it looks like to have a mortgage and things of that nature.
Yeah, and are the questions that they have primarily for you about those life skills, or are they more about kind of preparing themselves mentally, psychologically, emotionally?
More so preparing themselves, yes, but they don't see it as a challenge until we present it. So the fact that financial literacy is a challenge for them is is far-fetched, it's not there until we present it to them and we give them all of this knowledge and they're like, "Wow, I didn't know that that was a thing. I didn't know that balancing a checkbook was a thing. I didn't know that that existed." So it's like we educate them and we open up a new world for them, basically.
Jamal, you're nodding along. I mean, what is it that you've seen in your experience um, when it comes to trying to meet those responsibilities and to talk to younger people about what lay ahead?
Hmm. Some of the experiences I kind of see is that most of them they are willing to learn. I think this is a generation that doesn't get the credit that they're willing to learn if it's presented to them. So when this opportunity, as Nadia was mentioning about the financial literacy piece, they were more intrigued to learn. We actually had a company that came and had a check,
Mhm.
a large check, and went through, and it was like, "What is that?" So it was just they was still asking and probing questions to kind of learn more. They wasn't as quiet, but they wanted to know for future references. So once again, this generation, I think they need to get the credit that they deserve because they already want to learn more. They just need to have the opportunities to present itself.
Alexis, in terms of your own work, you're an artist, as we mentioned. You're in college. Um, what is it that you have learned in your own experience that might be helpful to other kids that you talk to, that you work with?
Um, One of the biggest things that I personally use that I think would be helpful to other youths my age is definitely hashing out your resources. Um, Finding multiple sources to help with one issue, because the more perspectives you get and the more varieties of solutions, the higher the probability that you fix the problem.
Hmm. That's very a smart interpretation. Do you think that there are enough resources out there? Do you think that the gap is that there aren't enough resources available, or that perhaps there's a reluctance to reach out to resources that are available, or that people aren't aware of them?
I think I honestly don't believe it's any of those issues. I believe it's more the fact that we are aware of these resources and we are aware how to do it, but it's finding out what resources work for us. A lot of youths my age tend to, it's a one and quit, a one and done. And they see resources like if one doesn't work, none of them are going to work. And we don't tend to realize that there's multiple different options and it's a trial and error.
Mm.
Is there something that is just kind of comes with the territory that makes it a little bit harder to trust that the system is going to serve a need, or that it's going to be adequate to what it is that the kids need?
Yes. So in many foster kid experiences, we our trust in the people that we are inherently supposed to trust isn't really there, or it's been lost. In my personal situation, I inherently you are supposed to be able to trust your parents and the people that you live with. In my situation, I've gradually learned that you can't really rely on everything, and even the things that are supposed to be there to help you aren't always going to. So, if you are met with those circumstances enough, eventually you're going to start losing optimism in everything.
Yeah. And in some ways, it also, I would imagine, builds a little bit of resilience to, within a person. Do you find that it has brought you strength, or that some of the kids that you work with um, also have, because of what they've learned, are in some ways, prepared for some life disappointments?
Yes, I do think a lot of youths in the foster care system are more grounded to reality. And while it's not necessarily a bad thing, there are drawbacks. Like you're very realistically, you view things in a very realistic sense, but also a very pessimistic sense
Mhm.
because you're aware of the things that could go bad. But with your prior experience of majority things going bad, you're going to lean more towards the pessimistic option.
Yeah. And Oliver, I mean, in terms of that inherent skepticism, where do you fall on that? Is that something that you try to persuade kids to look beyond? Do you, believe that that's a valuable, sort of cynicism for them to retain? Just knowing, that there are enormous challenges for anybody.
One of the things that I've come to realize uh, in my program, I can't speak for all other programs, but I got a chance to pick my team. And I picked the team based upon the needs that the youth come to the table with. So I trust Nadia. I trust Jamaal. I trust anybody that that is a part of the team because they're able to meet them where they are. They're able to gain their trust and understanding that trust not going to happen right at the beginning moment, and you have to be able to deal with them when they come in with their attitude,
Mhm.
and you not shut down as the adult. But one of the things when you show up and you consistently show up, you show them that consistently showing up, that's how you build their trust. And we've seen over a 12-week process that they may come in with the tough skin, but by week 6,
Hmm.
they looking for you.
Mhm.
By week 8, this program's almost over, and by week 12,
Hmm.
that frown has you don't see it as much anymore. Now the frown is, so what am I going to do on Wednesdays? But because we've given them the foundation, but I think we've reinstituted to them that people that show up consistently care and have your best interest at heart.
Jamal, when he was alluding to, attitude, I mean, there are obviously a lot of challenges facing kids in the system, graduating from the state system. All kids go through adolescence, all kids have attitudes. Sometimes younger generations get additional criticism for perhaps not having certain familiarities with work routines. Millennials got tagged with that a lot, but I mean, it applies to any kind of younger generation entering the workforce. Do they know how to operate? Do they know how to uh, present themselves? Do they know how to interact with other people? So, how do you work with this subset of kids that has these challenges, but also just has these natural inclinations that come along with being an adolescent?
So having the opportunity to work at Family Support Services, the program that Oliver was speaking of is Bridge to Work Academy. So that's a program that I'm very, very proud of. And Alexis was actually our past president. So one thing that I try to instill and to listen to our group. So within a 12-week program, the first class is new student orientation. So I already have somewhat of a framework, but my main mantra is to really listen to the students. We coordinate through group me individually. So not just in a group setting, but those that may be on the shyer side to kind of get a sense of what their needs are. I'm always asking what their needs are or what they would like to see within that 12-week program because I'm there to help them, to guide them, to listen to them, and also be a voice to them. So to be a part of a team with Nadia and Oliver and Maria Oxford and Chris Compton, they give me the tools and the resources to be able to support the students. But I'm there for them students even after hours because I just truly just have a passion because sometimes their voice gets lost.
Mm.
So I really want to be a voice for them. And I really believe that for me, That is my ministry, is just to listen to the students and be a voice for them, no matter what they're going through, and have their backs. Like one of the gyms that's nationwide, they say there's no judgment here. I take that. So whatever they go through, I don't have no judgment. I just there to listen. And I don't say my name as Jamaal, I say I'm coach.
Yeah.
So when I'm a coach, sometimes people rally around that, and they may feel more open to be able to reveal anything that they're going through. And I'm just there to be their advocate.
Nadia, we've been talking a little bit about, workplace training, financial training. What are some of the other areas that kids need help in that transition, whether it's, learning how to cook or having, healthy relationships?
So those are actually two things that they do need help with: learning how to cook, building those healthy relationships, also leadership skills. Like Jamaal said, we do get shy kids that come into the program, and we teach them how to speak up for themselves and use their voices to be a change, not only just in school, in the community, and things of that nature. So that's something that we do.
And is that training hands-on? I mean, when you're talking about building better relationships, how do you teach that?
It is hands-on. With the Youth Advisory Council, which I lead, Alexis is actually a member of the Youth Advisory Council. We teach them leadership skills. We give them a voice. The program is ran by them. So we teach them that they are the ones who can be the change agent in the community, not only within the community, but within the foster care system. If there's things in the past that you went through and you experienced, know that you can change it.
Alexis, I'll kind of give you the last word on this. I mean, you're obviously very accomplished. We mentioned that you're an artist, you're in school. You've led all of these initiatives with Family Support Services and the Youth Council. What is it that you're looking forward to most? And if you could ask for any resource for kids, who are in the system or aging out of the system, what would that be?
What I'm most looking forward to is being able to see the next generation of people that utilize these programs. Because with the program that I've participated in, even from week 1 to week 4, we had big differences. One of my peers, she was very shy, didn't really enjoy reading in front of others, and she wanted to speak to Coach Jamaal about it, but she didn't know how to express herself. So she messaged me, and we decided to get together, and she would read out her speeches and stuff to me, and I would just give her positive feedback. And then eventually, when Mr. Jamaal needed her to read in front of others, she nailed it. And so I'm really looking forward to being able to see the next coming of people developing both themselves and their skills in the environment. As for resources that I would love to see with the foster care system, we have lots of resources for self-expression, career building, financing, and like relationship building. But I would also really like to see programs like specifically for learning other forms of self-expression. In self-expression, we learn ways to communicate our emotions using words, and accurate vocabulary to avoid confusion and to effectively get what we need. But I would like to see more creative forms of self-expression for those that aren't really good with verbalizing or aren't comfortable with verbalizing it. Like ways that you could, like a painting class. Like, I'm an artist, so I truly believe that paints and art pieces can express emotions that your words cannot convey. So I would like to see things like that.
Well, you should be very proud, Alexis Estien. Thank you for coming on today. It's great to hear your story. Jamaal Brown, Oliver Green, and Nadia Hover. Thank you all for coming on this morning.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for
for
having
having
us.
Thank you.
All right. Up next, grocery stores scale back controversial dyes after decades of refusing to do so. We talk about that and Halloween health hazards after the break. Welcome back. Well, I'm joined now by Dr. Joe Servin, our own Dr. Joe Servin of the WJCT program and podcast, What's Health Got to Do with It? He visits us every month for a house call to talk medical news and to take your calls and questions. Welcome, Dr. Joe.
Well, it's so good to be here, and happy October.
Happy October. Of course, Dr. Joe will answer any healthcare question you have. If you want to call us, you can reach us at 904-549-2937, or you can email us at firstcoastconnect@wjct.org. But October, Dr. Joe, I mean, let's start with this sort of not so happy Halloween issues that can surface with this holiday. I was surprised to see that, according to some, it is one of the more dangerous holidays of the year.
Yeah, it is. And let me start off by saying I love Halloween. I'm the house with the pumpkin in the front and the lit up wreath, all that type of stuff. So I'm not anti-Halloween, but yes. There are a lot of things that go very wrong health-wise at Halloween, and it's all related to just the festivities going out of control or not, always following common sense, if you will.
Yeah, it seems like there's kind of these additional hazards that present themselves. I mean, there's some holidays that are very much associated with drinking and driving. You think of
Yes.
like 4th of July, Memorial Day. But on Halloween, you've got fire, because people are often lighting their pumpkins,
Correct.
lighting candles. You have masks, which can
Yes.
really limit visibility. And you have people carving pumpkins. So there's this
Yes.
enormous statistic of, about half of all the ER visits on Halloween are
It
related to knives and pumpkin carving.
I'm smiling because I've know that the rare moments that we've done pumpkin carving, that is not a simple thing to do. That it looks so easy when you see the Charlie Brown special and everything like that. It doesn't work that way. There are dull knives, and when those things go awry, guess what? There's cuts. When you add that plus everything you just mentioned, costumes that don't fit, allergies, food
Oh,
allergies,
yeah.
nut allergies go off the rails. And imagine those old days. I don't want to date myself when people used to bob for apples. I mean,
Yeah.
you have the recipe for a lot of problems. Plus, most Halloween activities occur at dusk or at night. So your visibility, you're walking around, people trip. People fall. Sadly, car accidents do occur, especially if you're at drinking and driving like those other holidays. So when you put it all together, I'm not the one who wanted to be on call on
Yeah.
Halloween because
Suffice it to say.
things always happen. That again, not anti-Halloween, but it's just you just have to be kind of mindful of these things and know that you just have to be more careful, if you will.
Yeah, and especially I think walking around at night too in the dark. I mean, you do see a lot of that, in any neighborhood that doesn't have sidewalks, or even
Correct.
some that do. Kids tend to walk in the street, and they can really get, if they're not well lit, can be a problem.
Exactly. If you're speeding, if you're going too fast, if you don't see them, the kids themselves, because they're in masks, that visibility may not be as clear as if it was any other night. And even walking at night is not always the easiest thing. So a lot of just things happen, and it's just have fun, but be careful is really my biggest message if I had to give anything with regards to that.
Sometimes it just means giving a little thought, ahead of time.
Absolutely.
All right, I want to switch to a somewhat more serious subject, which is sort of like, what is a pregnant person to do? There have been advisories given by our president. There have been warnings about vaccines, and then reversals on those recommendations. And I think that people are rightfully probably sort of confused. So let's start with the acetaminophen, which is Tylenol, and
Right.
which pregnant women have, been advised is safe to take for many, many years.
And it is still safe to take. If you look at the American College of OBGYN, that is the main grouping of all OBGYNs in the United States, they have issued statements on this issue, and they very much state that it is okay to take Tylenol during pregnancy. Mindful, there are these studies that have pointed out they're not causally related, just kind of loose associations with the concerns that have been brought out, but there is nothing like a consensus that you should stop taking it. More importantly, note that the reason people take it is for fever. Fever in even in the very first trimester of pregnancy can be problematic. That's when birth defects can occur. And so you don't want to just kind of not do anything about that. The evidence still favors taking Tylenol, and that is supported by the American College of OBGYN, regardless of whatever political folks are saying overall. Physicians are still recommending that is still the way to go. And even some in the administration in health have actually kind of pointed to that as well.
And I think that, like all of these conversations that we have, you and I, you always do recommend consult your own physician,
Absolutely.
before you take anything. And that should be a natural. What about the issue of COVID vaccinations? Because there was, initially a decision put forward by the panel selected by HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And then the independent advisory panel has sort of rolled that back.
Yes, which just tells you why the pushback for this. Remember that pregnant women, which is where he ruled not to get COVID vaccines or wasn't included in the first recommendation, they are more at risk for severe disease when it comes to COVID. And so it should never have been in that initial recommendation. I'm delighted that it's been quietly rolled back such that insurance covers if a pregnant woman wishes to get a COVID vaccine. This is still the thing to do. No one's ever changed from a medical perspective. And that's just telling me perhaps that when they covered it that way, that there was enough pushback to say, hey, that was maybe an overreach in terms of a recommendation.
If you're just joining us, we're talking to Dr. Joe Servin. He's a Mayo neurologist, and he joins us once a month for a house call. He talks medical headlines and takes your calls and questions. You can reach us at 904-549-2937. You can email First Coast Connect at WJCT.org, or you can reach out on Facebook, Instagram, or X at FCC On Air. We've got a call from Charles on the west side. Good morning, Charles. Go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. Dr. Joe on the dangers of Halloween and bobbing for apples. Back in 1968, we were stationed in Germany, and they had a little Halloween fest on base. And I went as a hippie because, it's a song, if you're going to San Francisco, be sure to wear flowers in your hair. And my mom styled her hairpiece that she used for her B-52 beehive hairdo. And I went to the bobbing for apples thing and went after the first two, and when I went for the third one, I ducked my head completely into the water, forgetting about my mom's hairpiece that it got soaking wet. And I thought I ruined it when I saw her after it was over, and I was really upset. She said, "That's okay, it's waterproof," But on the Tylenol thing, real quick, I've been. Well, that was for pregnant women, but the thing about, since you're a neurologist, my mom saw a neurologist at Baptist, and she has an arterial occlusion there in the back part of her brain. And he took her off Plavix and everything, and he just wants her to take one 325 aspirin a day to melt the occlusion. And because he said it was too dangerous, at her age of 89 to go in and put in a little stent or something. So have you heard of that? Just use aspirin because she's been doing that for a year now.
So Bob, first of all, I love your bobbing for apple story to start off with. You pictured it well, but thankfully that's gone out. To your other question, aspirin is a little different from things like Tylenol because aspirin has an anti-clotting effect. It's still used in some people, in many people for anti-clotting purposes in people with prevent heart attacks, even prevent certain types of strokes. When they can't do a procedure like you're describing, and you want to have some type of anti-clotting ability to kind of prevent clots from forming so that you prevent strokes, if you can't use, or if you don't need to use the stronger forms of anti-clotting, things like that drug you talked about, Plavix, which goes by clopidogrel, or something in that direction, you can use some versions of aspirin because it's over the counter, and you can take and utilize it for that impact. So the answer is yeah. In fact, aspirin is not that uncommonly used for clot prevention in a lot of different conditions. It's just not used, willy-nilly for everybody. But for some instances, that is not a wrong choice. And so, yeah, we have heard of it. That is part of kind of a standard, if you will.
What would be the reason for not using a more traditional blood thinner?
I think that the more traditional blood thinner is going to be stronger. It's going to have the increase. Yes, it's going to be more thinning of the blood, but it also is going to make you more at risk for a bleeding complication, such as if you accidentally hit your head or something along those lines, you're more at risk for having a hemorrhage or something along those lines. So aspirin, although it can have those risks as well, it's not as big a risk. You're always nothing is innocent. So you have to always balance what's the benefit, what's the risk, and how do you kind of find that sweet spot between those two? And that's why that decision is made.
I wonder when you're talking about somebody like the age too of Charles's mom, if,
Yes.
they older people bruise easier, they're thin, their skin gets a little bit less resilient, and maybe a traditional blood thinner would just be put
Too
them
much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would be the simplest way that I would put it. And you're absolutely right. As you age, you are more prone. Your blood vessels may be a little bit more brittle than they used to be. And that's why you see a lot of purplish bruising from things that would be innocuous from someone at a much younger age. But thank you, Bob, for that question.
Yeah. So food dyes, I want to talk about this. So Walmart made a
Mhm.
big announcement. They're getting a lot of good attention for promising to remove synthetic dyes and 30 other additives from their private label food brands.
Right.
This is something that they say is going to be in effect by January 2027. Tell us a little bit about kind of what's happening here.
So this is following probably two elements. Walmart is doing a great thing. I applaud them 100%. They are stripping out any type of artificial elements from their colors in terms of how they, on their own brands of things, their sweeteners, their food additives, their fats, and things of that sort. This is likely following two elements. Number one, the state of California has, for years since I think 2022, 2024, has also put in a law that they are going to take this out. Where California goes, remember, folks, whether we like it or not, California is one of America's biggest states, one of the biggest economies. If they're going to do this, where California goes, most of the time the rest of the country goes, because a company like Walmart probably does not want to be formulating two sets of different products, one just for California law and one for the U.S. So the smarter thing is to follow it along. So it may be that element had a big influence because of the size of the California market. The second thing is just the general vibe right now. If you look at the Make America Healthy Again movement, it's all about eliminating this. This is a very laudable goal. We're all in favor in that regard. And I suspect that the timing fits very well in terms of just reading the tea leaves from a national, federal level. But this is an interesting one because I think the California thing happened way even before the MAHA movement existed.
Sure. And I mean, we do know that these kinds of dyes and additives have been enormously concerning for decades now. I mean, it's been, the Center for Science and the Public Interest
Yeah.
has filed petitions. They've published studies. They've linked some of these to hyperactivity in children. We've known, that some of these dyes and additives caused cancer in rats. I mean, we've known that since the 80s.
Yeah, this should have been gone a while ago. And that the fact they're coming to it, I'll take a win now, even if it's late. But and you're absolutely right. This is something that we should not have had in the food supply to begin with. So kudos to them, and I'm glad because normally a company the size of Walmart means that others will likely follow suit.
Sure. And we have seen too recently PepsiCo and Kraft Heinz
Mhm.
have also pledged to phase out artificial dyes. And to your point, these regulations are already going into effect in a very large state like California, but these specific changes really are following on the heels of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and his priorities, including getting petroleum-based dyes and some of these dyes that are linked to impacts, whether they're physical or carcinogenic impacts, getting those out of foods.
I love this is one of those areas that I think everyone in the medical community can actually rally around overall, which is yes. We need to kind of be better, more vigilant about what we put in our bodies from a food standpoint. And I think that people are reading the tea leaves. In fact, one of the things that has come down the line is that now suddenly we are in the world of medical education. Just to give you a vibe for this, all medical programs, med schools, fellowships, residencies, they want to show that we are teaching nutrition and these elements of nutrition within the framework of medical education overall, so that your next generation of doctors and other providers are basically able to speak to this in a more preventative way. And that's just another element of how that whole movement is impacting just this aspect, if you will, of which being preventative in with regards to the food that you eat.
What does it take? What ought it take to get these large scale changes in, actually implemented? I mean, just this last week, there was a big piece in the New York Times about paraquat and its possible connection to Parkinson's disease
Yeah.
and a range of neurological, very bad things.
Yeah.
And that, again, is not new science. I mean, people have known for decades that paraquat is, and I think I'm saying that right.
You're saying it right.
That is, I mean, it's an herbicide. It is very effective, and it has proven neurological impacts on, lab rats.
There is a lot of environmental toxins out there that should just not be in our food. What does it take? It literally means that there has to be a stick with this. This is a policy type of driven issue. The only way policy gets driven, and especially when you're talking about food and industry, is that there has to be an upswelling, a movement. People have to demand it, and you have to be showing the sales are good for the areas that do not have that. Everything you're saying is right. There are definitely, and that's just one example. There are probably more examples than that would get us all fairly upset. But yes, this is something that needs to be focused
Sure. I
on.
mean, PFAS are still not illegal to manufacture and sell. And we know that, those have tremendous forever chemical impacts on all kinds of things.
Until people quit buying them, until there's a movement to say, quit doing this, that it just doesn't change. If the sales are still strong and things of that sort, I imagine, and they're allowed to still do it, we find ourselves in this situation. There's a lot of stuff that we can prevent.
In terms of California's influence, we talk about how they kind of help drive the conversation because they're so big. And no doubt they're a reason that we're not buying cars that get 10 miles to the gallon anymore. So, they
right.
have played a role in pushing for environmental change and for health impacts. Florida is also a really big state.
Mhm.
It traditionally hasn't really led on that. But is the state powerful enough at the state level to make changes that could actually influence national policy, or at least offer protections to people who live here?
I think that the answer is a definite yes. Any of the big states, and when I'm talking about besides California, Florida, Texas, New York, immediately come to mind. If any of those start making any movements towards any type of shift in policy, there's enough population driving it that makes sense. So yeah, Florida can easily be one of those in the driver's seat for making decisions that affect the entire country.
All right, I want to shift gears and talk about cheaper weight loss drugs,
Yeah.
because this is something that Costco has announced that they're going to start making Ozempic and Wegovy available. They're joining a couple of other major retailers like CVS and Walmart. What is going on, first of all, with the availability of that drug, the affordability of that drug?
right now, it is a very expensive drug, and so a lot of people have gone to sources such as online sources, compounding groups, to try to find inexpensive ways of getting kind of like the drug.
How expensive is it for people?
It can go all the way, ranging, if not at that $500 level, but 3 times that. It can go up to $1,500 a month without even batting an eye.
And not covered by insurance?
And a lot of insurance will cover it these days, but there are lifetime limits in terms of how much they're going to pay out for it. And so this is one of those areas that I also have to applaud Costco and these companies for putting a lower expensive, because what we're finding about these meds is that it's like almost becoming like a new version of aspirin. It has, where we started on our phone call, it has all these wonderful effects in terms of not only is it weight loss, it prevents liver conditions, it shows that it's beneficial for preventing diabetes, it's helpful for preventing dementia. It's like if once you hit that issue, you've now kind of settled a lot of other areas. Insurance coverage is better, but it is not perfect. So this will help significantly.
Just very briefly, because we are going to have to wrap, a study that found that women who skip their first mammograms are likelier to have, problematic breast cancer diagnosis later, in part because they found if they skip their first one, sometimes they cancel their later ones.
Right. So this is a good reminder. October is also Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Get the mammogram. That study was huge because it just tells you, if you don't start into the mindset of getting this routine preventative screening, sometimes you just don't get into the mindset of doing it even after that. And that's where you lose time. Remember that there's a lot of rising rates of cancer in younger folks. Getting those screenings is huge. And again, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Work that in as well.
And women over 40 are generally, that's kind of when you're supposed to start?
Correct. They had brought the age down, and so it is just a powerful reminder that this saves lives.
All right. Well, Dr. Joe Servin, thank you as always. His show is What's Health Got to Do with It? You can hear it Saturdays at 4 on WJCT. You can also find it wherever you get your podcasts. Dr. Joe, thanks for being here.
You bet. Happy Halloween early.
Happy Halloween. Up next, the citrus industry gets a boost from fresh fruit and ancient history.
The St. Augustine Amphitheater presents Ben Sollee. The Kentucky cellist, composer, and vocalist will perform at 6:30 and 9 p.m. Tuesday, October 21st at Limelight's Matuza Black Box Theater in St. Augustine. Tickets and information available at theamp.com. Congaree & Pen, dedicated to agriculture and culinary endeavors, offering field-to-fork dining and outdoor experiences on over 300 acres. Sip, dine, explore. Information at congareeandpen.com. 10 Across presents Convergence, October 22nd and 23rd at the Hyatt Riverfront in Jacksonville. Leaders will discuss infrastructure, climate, and insurability. Features a conversation with Mayor Deegan. Registration at 10across.org/events. That's 10across.org/events.
Discover new and classic music every Saturday night starting at 8 with Mr. Al Pete as we stroll through the neighborhood. And then stay tuned for Bop City, Electro Lounge, and Blues Horizon, only on WJCT News 89.9 Saturday nights.
Joseph Stalin was a ruthless Soviet dictator who embraced quack science, manipulated the media, consolidated personal power, and developed an enormous cult of personality. President Trump and Stalin are different men from different times and countries, but there are enough nagging similarities that some wonder, what lessons should Americans learn from Stalinism now? That's on the next On Point.
Today at 11, here on WJCT News 89.9.
Last month, the Trump administration started blowing up boats off the coast of Venezuela, calling it part of a, quote, armed conflict with drug cartels. The president is linking these cartels to the government of Venezuelan strongman Nicolas Maduro. So are these actions about drugs or regime change? That's next time on 1A.
Today, starting at 10 on WJCT News 89.9.
Welcome back. Well, it's a time of enormous challenges for Florida's storied citrus industry, from greening disease to climate change to urban sprawl. But one local group is working to garner support for growers and to educate the public. Here to tell us about it is Brett Nolan, Vice President of the Mandarin Community Club. Good morning, Brett.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So what is the Mandarin Community Club doing and why?
So the Mandarin Community Club is doing this as a fundraiser, not to only support money for our century-old organization, but also we wanted to do something a little more than just being a self-serving fundraiser. We wanted to promote and raise awareness about Florida's struggling citrus industry. It's an industry that is integral to our state's identity. And over the past 20 years, it has been declining steadily because of hurricanes or citrus screening. In the early 2000s, we were producing as a state 300 million boxes of oranges. In the last year, that has dropped to about 14 million.
And so the club is doing what to give growers a boost exactly?
We're partnering with Florida Indian River Groves, who has worked for over 50 years with the state's citrus growers from all over. And people can pre-order boxes of fresh Florida citrus. And the money that is raised there, some goes to our organization, but some obviously goes to those citrus growers. It gives them a purpose. It gives them a reason to wake up, go in the groves, pick the oranges, and be able to sell them. Because a lot of the citrus right now comes from states like California or Brazil. So any opportunity where someone can buy Florida citrus, it's indirectly benefiting and raising awareness and supporting that.
And so you've created this fundraiser. It is going to be sort of tied in with the club's holiday events. And so people can pre-order this and then they can come pick it up at the annual Christmas tree lighting.
Yes, that's correct. So our fundraiser ends on November 14th. And after that, they get hard at work picking all the oranges and boxing it up, and they'll deliver it to the community club that first week of December. Our annual Christmas tree lighting is on December 5th, and that is where we're giving the public the opportunity to come and pick up their orders there. Of course, they can pick up their orders. They have until Sunday, December 7th to pick it up from the club, but we're encouraging families to come and pick up their orders at the historic Mandarin Community Club.
And they can also order and have them shipped to people if they want to give them as holiday gifts?
That's correct. We've had a lot of people take up on that opportunity. You can send it to anywhere in the United States outside of Hawaii and Alaska, and you just pay an additional shipping fee per box. But we've had a lot of people do that.
So, Brett, you're a young person. You were, when you were first put on the board at the club, you were the youngest member of the club as far as anybody can remember in history. And I think it was also your idea to do this annual Christmas tree lighting.
That's correct.
And that's now become, a central event people really look forward to. Why did you want to begin that? And what do you think that just your youth and your ideas have brought to this, longstanding Mandarin Community Club?
Yeah. So the Mandarin Community Christmas tree lighting, it started in 2020. So everyone knows what was going on in 2020, COVID-19. And there was just no community gathering events. There was nothing. And I thought, what is more uplifting for the community than a Christmas tree lighting? And so what we did is we were able to secure a large live cut Christmas tree lighting. It's the largest live cut Christmas tree lighting in Jacksonville. Everyone else uses artificial trees now. And so it was a drive-through style event. People would park in their cars and we'd have Santa come and wave, and it just snowballed, no pun intended, to just a great community event. We had Mayor Donna Deegan light the Christmas tree 2 years ago. Last year we had Tony Baselli. This year we're hoping to have Jeannie Blaylock light our Christmas tree. And it's just drawn hundreds and hundreds of families to come in the heart of historic Mandarin, just a great community event. We had Brenda Council, a local artist, design our Christmas tree topper, which is a Mandarin orange to pay homage to our village history. But I just overall think it's important. I wanted something in the community, something for Mandarin to really get behind and have an identity, because that's what makes communities so special. That's what makes Jacksonville very special. We have very diverse neighborhoods, and it's important that each neighborhood has these things to do because it plays a part in overall of our role in history and what makes our city great.
And we should say, just briefly, that the history of Mandarin includes, Harriet Beecher Stowe, who wintered there. She, of course, is the author of Uncle Tom's Cabin. You have a first edition of her plantation.
Palmetto Leaves
book with you here. But so she, of course, is part of, telling that story of Mandarin and the history of the orange groves there. And there's a new statue to
Yes,
her.
ma'am.
Yeah.
And that is a Brenda Council statue as well. Harriet Beecher Stowe, of course, Mandarin's history goes hundreds and hundreds of years back, and it wasn't in 1830 until the Mandarin got its name. Harriet Beecher Stowe started to come to Mandarin in the late 1800s, and she just fell in love with the place and ended up purchasing an old former cottage in Mandarin on the river and turned it into what would be a commercial citrus grove. That's how she helped pay for all of the endeavor she was doing here in Mandarin. And why she was here, she had so much claim to fame. I mean, if you think about Uncle Tom's Cabin, it was a book that was the second most popular book and sold in the 1900s, only behind the Bible. I mean, that's incredible. So she was very famous, well-known, and she wrote Palmetto Leaves as kind of like the first tourism book to attract Northerners to Florida.
Well, it is a fascinating history. We've got a link to the website where you can actually do the ordering for the fundraiser. Brett Nolan, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for listening. That's our program. Join us tomorrow when we talk to the Pulitzer Prize-winning author whose podcast helped a wrongfully convicted man win release after 36 years in prison. I'm Ann Schindler. You've been listening to First Coast Connect on WJCT News 89.9.
Support for First Coast Connect is provided by Baptist Health and the North Florida TPO.
The North Florida TPO is committed to shaping our transportation future. We're focused on planning, funding, clean fuels, and new technologies for a vibrant, connected community. Learn more at northfloridatpo.com. Baptist Health is a proud supporter of First Coast Connect. Baptist Health, committed to building a healthier community for all of us. More info at 202-4YOU or baptistjacks.com. Florida Theater presents Sons of Maestro. The two brothers use their violins to interpret pop songs, reggae classics, and their own creations, accompanied by a DJ and a drummer. Friday, October 17th at 7 p.m. Information at floridatheater.com.
This is WJCT News